Hello friends. I had shown you the mountain house you see on the screen before, friends. In this lesson, we will start with the mountain house model and see how we can create it. How can we obtain such high quality visuals? You will find this training series inside, friends. Now, in the training series, friends, look, we have such a mountain house, but placing the mountain house only means putting in land. It doesn't mean that we will get such a high quality visual because there are important fine details. I will talk about them. It will be a step-by-step training set, friends. Our only request from you is to subscribe to our channel and support us, friends. Now, we will use another model in SketchUp, my friends. I will provide this model in the description section. You can use a different model if you want. You can also change the model if you want. When I downloaded the model, there were no stairs around it. Friends, I added the stair step. And we will start from the terrain by importing this model into Twinmotion using the important features of Twinmotion. Friends. Actually, what is the most important feature of using a program? Friends, knowing how to use the library very well. So, by using Twinmotion very well in this part, we will see what we need to do. Of course, there are also some artistic touches. 2. These parts are also very important because they establish the main fundamental principles of visualization. Alright, let's all switch to Twinmotion and continue creating the terrain after transferring this model. Friends! Yes, friends, as you can see on the Twinmotion screen, it's a free rendering engine, and there are some advantages that this free rendering engine offers us. There's just a subtle point, friends. We need to have a ray tracing graphics card because Twinmotion uses a feature called pad trace. This pad trace feature is also available for friends from NVIDIA. Feature works on graphics cards. Look, normally when you type Twinmotion download into Google search, on the page that comes up, you download the Epic launcher from the download section and install it. I will open the Epic launcher. Inside the Epic launcher, friends, you run Twinmotion. It's a very simple thing. After installing this, you can work very easily. Free! Just click the download button here with your Gmail address. Sign up and log in. You don't need anything else, friends. Yes, friends, we have set up our Epic launcher for Twinmotion. We've logged in and Twinmotion is right here on this tab, look. From the Twinmotion tab here, you can download the latest Twinmotion Preview 2 version. When you click the bottom of this version, there are other versions available. But I recommend the latest version to you, friends. Always make sure to use the latest version. Just a little tip, friends. And I will mention some important parts about this shortly, friends. Your graphics card must update. The update status of your graphics card is an important aspect when it comes to graphics cards and rendering engines, the rendering engines that work with the graphics card. So make sure to update your graphics card. Having a RayTX graphics card is important. We're opening the interface by clicking the start button here, friends. If you use the interface, the interface is simple. Regarding the interface, I will gradually introduce you to this interface by publishing the lessons on the channel as well. Since the interface is already very simple, there are some important parts we need to focus on when we import our model. After doing those, we will continue to the other sections. Right now, the important part is the import section. There's a very important part in the import section, friends. For the import section, you click on the import option from the menu below. Main screen will come from inbox. Close this screen. This is main screen. From the import section, look, click on the plus icon over there, friends. From the open section, you select your model. From this section, friends, we are selecting our model. We're opening our model with the open button, friends. Look, there are some important parts here. You need to select the keep hierarchy option here. If you select the collapse all option here, the model will come in completely. But when you select this option and click import, the model will actually come in piece by piece. And we will be able to intervene in all the parts. Friends, it has such a feature. Look, our model has arrived, as you can see. Normally, when you select the all option, look, actually we have the chance to intervene differently in all these parts of the model. Look, Twinmotion has such a feature, friends. That's why it's an important part. In this section, we saw the import part. Right away, there are some important parts in the field about what we need to do in the next section. Let's see them right away, friends. What we're going to do with the terrain is actually to elevate this house. Placing it on a peak helps it flow with paths, creating ambience. Varied slopes and curves enhance the space. Because when we place the land on a hill, we will ensure that the land there, along with the walking paths, will flow and create an ambience there. Because naturally, as part of a natural living space, friends, different slopes, different curves, and varying elevations in the terrain will actually, it will provide needed effect. And Twinmotion is really successful in this regard. Now, when you normally go to the Ambiance menu, friends, and you come up to the top part of the model, there's a situation like this. When you close the part in the starting base section here, the bottom part disappears. And look, the starting landscape part at the bottom goes away. And when you close the starting base section here, the ground underneath disappears. We have nothing to do with these. When we go to the planting section on the left side, we head to the landscape part. We're selecting the rocky part here, friends. Or just call it milk and leave it here, friends, or double click. It will be active on screen. Look, I indeed have such a terrain here, friends. But my building is up there. Since I'm going to raise the terrain feature, here, my building will also sit here. I'm not touching the building right now, friends. Let my building stay like that for now. I'm going to elevate the terrain. I will also have placed the terrain on top of the building. Now, on the right side, TV, Motion has a really nice feature. There are paint and scalp tools, friends. The scalp tool actually allows us to lift the terrain up and give it some slopes with basic features. It's actually a lot of fun. Look, we haven't done anything. We transferred the model, and on the right side, we can see the basic terrain features. Look, you've come to the upper part here, friends. This part at the top, it helps us to lift the terrain up. Look, I'm raising the terrain like this and navigating upwards using the ASD keys on the keyboard, friends. As you can see, raise it at a certain slope. In fact, the building, it's not important. We have a tool to flatten the terrain because we have our leveling tool here. We will flatten the terrain with that tool, friends. I'm only going to lift a certain part up. To enlarge the brush tip here, you can use the enlargement section right here. The intensity part here is the brush's impact. The feature, meaning the impact, the more it is, the more it will lift this up. Friends, elevate the terrain to raise the water table. I've done this before. You know, by lifting it up from the water table, that elevation we call the water table, it helps to make the house a bit higher up, friends. Look, I've done an operation like this. Look, part of it has remained within the terrain. So what do I need to do with the remaining part? I have a leveling effect on the terrain. I'm leveling the terrain to set up a fence. I'm going to flatten it. Look, normally there's a section like this. From this part, friends, look at the terrain from this section. I'm marking the flattening part and leveling the terrain, friends. As you can see, I've completely leveled the upper part of the terrain. Since I'm going to create a fence around, I'm flattening that part, and I'm going to bring in some fences around, friends. Ready-made objects. And I continued by fixing this part. Actually, my terrain turned out really nice. Look, I've created a plane like this. The stair sections turned out like this. And for the stair sections and the column sections to be visible, friends, I'm going to the upper part there. I'm going to select the entire model. Look from this part. Let me scroll this up with the scroll button like this. Look, I'm going to lift this up from the mountain house section, friends. This way, I will ensure that the columns are visible. I came like this and left it at this point. Up to this point, I have actually completed the building placement. From here, I can create a direction by making an S shape downwards with the brush tool if I want. I will do those as well. Because it's important in terms of ambience, there are some parts, we need to do those, friends, because these are nice summaries. We can do these quickly in Twinmotion as well. How do we do it? When we select the land, the parts on the right side of the land are clear. We continue by selecting the brush size from these sections, friends. That's all for now. In the other part, we will strengthen our ambience even more by enclosing the surroundings, with fences and other elements, friends. Yes, guys, right now we need to create a natural effect here by placing from the fence section, that is the fence part. Look, right now we're not doing anything about the weather conditions or the sun, guys. Why? Because I'm going to leave the planting until the end. I'll do it after I've completely finished the terrain and the painting part. But here, to strengthen the model a bit more, I'm going to import the fence model. And after importing the fence model, I will copy these around the building using the copying method. Look, I have my fence symbol here. From the Sketchfab section, you can find suitable models from the Sketchfab library here, guys. I had downloaded it. I clicked on this heart symbol to take my favorite model from the favorites section and dropped it inside, guys. Look, it's a bit small, of course. I can use the scale tool here. As you can see, I'm slightly enlarging it with the scale tool here. I've brought it to size. It's big. Let's make it smaller, like this. You can place a human object here to make it look like it's coming to the waist level. I'm used to it, so I don't feel the need for this, guys. I brought it like this and dropped it here, as you can see. The parts I'm going to do after this will only involve using copying methods, guys. I'm copying from here like this using the Shift key. Now, if you do sequential copying, it might not go in a certain order. Here, guys. Our model is small, manual works. Manual placement will work for us. Look, I did it like this. Or you can do it like this from here, by multiplying the numbers a lot. Look, this is a manual copying method. A little bit of disorder is enough for us. After doing these, I'm just going to use this tool from this section. Sorry. Let's do it like this. I'm going to the left section. From our menu, guys, I selected all of this. Came from here. I sped up the camera a bit by pressing the 3 key on the keyboard. I duplicated one here using the Shift key, guys. I'm going to ease the scene a bit by creating an instance, because the topic of instances is really important. If your graphics card is low, it's beneficial to create instances, guys. Look, I copied this too. I turned it 90 degrees. Since the terrain is already sloped, having it at 90 degrees or other angles isn't that important. It's going not, guys, because the slope of the terrain allows us to work a bit randomly, guys. I did it like this. I'm lifting this up by selecting that, guys, like this. Look, I did it like this. I'm going to close the gap a bit more by selecting these with the Control key. Let's leave it like this. For those parts, the land again, we can adjust this area using a correction method. So for now, I won't get too caught up in these details, because I don't want the video to be too long, guys. I'm leaving these parts to you so that it can be a video series. You can also make adjustments in these areas by playing around a lot with the terrain. Look, I came in like this by rotating it. I came in like this by rotating from the top, guys. It is important to have disorder. Breaking order helps create a natural effect. This part is crucial. Since I'll use a stone here in the road section, I'll put one here. I'll come here. I've added and duplicated the human figure. Let's open this more. Let's have a different section here. Let's have an opening there. Look, since I'm going to use a stone here, in the road section, I'm saying to put one here. I'm going to come over here like this. I've added this, and I've duplicated the human figure. Let's open this up a bit more. I want there to be a slightly different section here. If we take a look, let's have an opening there. We'll place a wooden bench here and include a small landscaping feature there, guys. For these areas, look, it's enough to raise the terrain a bit for the parts that are left in the air. That's why I took this part. I reduced the diatonic part. Look, from this interstitial part like this. I've slightly lifted this part here. And the other part, look, these sections as well, from here, lightly. You can lift it up. A slight small effect will do the job for us, guys. If you have discomfort about that, you can lift it up like this. Some of our friends don't really like these kinds of irregularities because they seem to be floating. That's why, with this kind of effect, look, we've created this part of the mountain house. There's a method for creating a floating effect here. Lift up too. The terrain will also change this way. We've also taken care of the fence area around our land like this, guys. In the other part, we need to create some irregularity here along with a walking path. That's why we'll do that part for the other support too. Yes, friends, we can create elevations in our land by selecting our area using the Sculpt tool. From this part, we can adjust our land using both the elevation tool above and the lowering tool. Just like in human life, friends, how are the problems in our lives? Just like how waves come and go, sometimes lowering and sometimes rising, it's similar to the leaves drying in autumn. And our rejuvenation in spring, friends, just like the problems and issues in human life. We also need to differentiate the natural features here. Why? Because difference is natural, friends. A plane eraser won't always work. Saying a flat eraser actually refers to a situation that is contrary to human naturalness, and in fact against nature. That's why we need to disrupt these parts to create a sense of naturalness. Look at how it is here. Just like the lowering and elevation tools, we need to enhance our features here using these tools along with DMT and internet tools. When we come to the paint section, we have the coloring feature in paint. We are currently in the grass section. In the grass section, the grass feature helps us paint the land. The land coloring feature is really an amazing feature, friends. Look here, let's say gravel. For example, let's have a gravel feature on this path. So let's have a gravel path feature. After determining the walking path from the diameter section for the gravel path feature, the diameter section is actually the tip of my brush. The tip of my brush, after bringing a certain person for a walk, friends, I'm adjusting texture from texture scale. You can do it after painting it. Look, I came like this. I came from this part like this. And I made an S, friends, came like this. Let me have a walking path here. I came like this, look, in this way. And I'm zooming in to see the texture scale section. The texture is small now. Look, I'm making this a bit bigger, friends. Let's say this part has formed on such a path. Look at the soft transition here. It's very important for us. I can make this a bit bigger, like this. When I looked like this, it became a walking symbol leading to the mountain house from here. It's making the S here, friends. It symbolizes the naturalness here. Naturalness really indeed creates a perfect result when combined with environmental examples in cinematic scenes like this. When we surround the area with trees like this, we will achieve the visual quality I showed at the very beginning. Friends, because these are really important parts. In these areas, you can enhance the ambiance even more by playing around with it more. Friends. As I said, I don't want to extend the lesson too much and bore you, so I'm not prolonging the lesson too much. But when you tweak it, you'll really see that there are perfect settings. Yes, friends, in this part we have created the lens section. In the next part, the planting section comes into play. The planting section is really an important part. Actually, you need to do a lot of trials for planting. There are some important plants in the Twinmotion program. But here, what I want to show you, friends, is how to import plants in FPS format from external sources. That's important, friends, because, I'm going to show you a tree here, because the features we will apply to all the trees are the same. FBX from outside the trees, FBX from outside those trees. The feature of importing is as follows. Normally, when you enter Twinmotion, look here, when you come to the tree section, there are many trees here. If you want, you can use these. When you go down, there are new trees. You can place these trees according to the characteristics of the land. Here, it's important, friends, that we will also see how to use environmental elements. Now look here, of course, there's a situation in the land. Friends, I can actually paint the ground in the land using multiple painting methods. For example, I want to show that part here as well. I can paint this part, for example, using a darker method, and I can show the transition from grass to soil in a different way. That's an important part too, friends. I wanted to say that, speaking of which, now I can use the painting method on these trees, or I can plant the environment using a planting method. And I can also shape the terrain using methods like rocks. Now, I won't be using these, friends. I just want to show how I can use the object I've brought here. I want to show how I can use the TBGIS tree that I brought from outside here. You come to the import section over there. You press the bottom part. Here, friends, you go to the library from the open section. Now, there's an important part here. On the subject of trees, FBX trees, Max Trees, Friends trees are really nice. I'm using their trees. You can get great results when you use those trees. Look, I've come here, come to FBX section. There are some types of trees here. Now I want to select one and do it. They're all the same. You need to find the names of the FBX trees you'll use in the map section over there. Look, I selected a tree from the F5 sections and brought it here. I said, open it, friends. Look, the piece has arrived. I added it import. Now that the tree has arrived, I need to select the leaves on the tree. When I select the leaves on the tree, the process is complete, friends. Look, let my tree come up on the screen. Of course, there are 4 or 5 clusters of trees here. You can select one of those clusters, or they can all stay. You can choose and use one of them. After the tree arrives, I need to reintroduce the leaves of the tree. So I need to define the opacity channels, the bump channel, and the ragness channel, which is the reflection and specular channel. Look, my trees are like this, friends. When I use these trees, I can really get beautiful results. Look, my trees are like this. There are some opacity channels around the trees. I need to select them, so I'm using the keyboard. Excuse me, I'm selecting one of my leaves with the dropper tool here, guys. Look, my leaf has arrived. There's an important part here. I want to show it. Look at Rockmus. The detailed part is here. And in the opacity channel, there's the opacity map section, guys. Now, when I select this from the opacity map section, I go to the open part. I've gone to the downloads section again. I found my folder. Look, I'm going to find the name here, guys. The name is very important. Look, the name is mentioned here. 01. It says Live 01. Look, here's the opacity. Look at the channel. You hit 01. Left 01 and add it to the opacity channel. What happens when I add it? Look, the opacity channels around it are going away, and it ends up looking like this, guys. This is a crucial part. After doing this, you go to the normal section. From this section, you go to the normal map part and click on Open. You find the normal map with the same name. You say Open. It has been added, the normal map. Here it is. There's the Ragnos part. It's an important part, guys. From the texture section, from the Open part, look, I'm selecting the glossiness part here. When I say Open, a shine appears. But look at this part here. When you do this part, you're actually getting the effect here. When you increase or decrease the intensity value here, it feels like you're capturing the shine on a leaf. And that's how you achieve the realistic effect, guys. Important part is this. So, when you do the rockness part here with the normal map and the opacity channel, your trees are actually ready, guys. Yes, after we place our leaves, meaning after we adjust our leaf settings, the process we're going to do is really very simple. Here, look, normally we take these in the transfer part, so look inside. Our trees have different directions in various ways. These will also create a natural effect for us. You, my friends, can take these trees and make a random settlement. When you hold it from the middle, look, when you hold it from this middle part, the tree will automatically make an arrangement here. If the foam parts are left out, you can carefully place them downwards like this. Look, there will be a nice effect here. From here, when we look at it this way, we can create a beautiful effect in our building. We can even get a render square from here. Friends, it will create a beautiful ambiance, a nice effect. You need to place these one by one. So, in the work I've done, I took these and made a placement one by one. Friends, placement is important. This is already the basis here. I'm going to show you how this is done. It's done this way. Friends, and I will show you how to paint some more areas around the building with grass and rocks. But the main effect is to take these and place them. When you're doing these, don't overdo it. You're using the trial method, friends. This is an important part because experimenting is actually enough for us. It allows us to capture the event sufficiently. Look, the way the trees are positioned here or their placement effects are important for us. Look, when I place them like this and take them down, when I take the ground like this, I can get various effects. Of course, there is not just one type of tree here. Using more than one tree is enough. You can expand the painting method based on the power of your graphics card, friends, because the graphics card is important here. When you get to the left side, look, when you get to the stats section, there is a feature of your graphics card. I'm also going to show you the part of the screen that is filled. The FPS value here is currently at 160 FPS, but that's in a fully packed scene. So, in the section over here, friends, look at the objects part. It says millions. I will have 70 million. I've used 70 million objects. How much does the section over there drop to 30 FPS? So, make a placement based on the power of your graphics card. When the section over there drops below 30 FPS, meaning below 24 to 26 FPS, you'll start to experience stuttering gradually. To prevent those stutters, try to stay in that section. Friends, when you stay in that section, you'll achieve an efficient way of working in the remaining part. That's why these are important and detailed nuances. Friends. But I'll show you the placement part after this. With the painting method, use a large portion of it with Twinmotion's own trees, because it will work in a more stable way. And you'll get a proper render output and animation output without straining the graphics card. Here we will see two types of render outputs. We will see the pad trace and lumen outputs, friends. In the render section of pad trace, in the lumen section, and in the animation section, we will see it, friends. Hello friends, we are continuing with our work. You can manually develop these trees from where we left off, friends. It's really very simple and very easy. The part you need to pay attention to when copying is to copy the instance part here. While doing the copy, if you copy too much, the polygon count of the objects will increase significantly, which may cause your scene to lag. Be careful to use instances, friends. Here are the rocks that I downloaded earlier. Make sure the rocks are compatible with the terrain. The rocks over there are more... It's continuing. as a desert. This is a rock with more moss on it. We can use this and that here. Again, when we come to the populate section, I can download the rocks. I've downloaded from the library using the paint section here. Look, I can place these from here. Let's see if there are any suitable rocks below. I'm looking at them regarding the rocks, friends, anything else. Maybe this one could work. So it could be a rock that has a stained white color. This one could work. Let's do these. I'm leaving the brush tip here, again by making it smaller and looking at this part like this. Of course, plant tissue will come between these soon. We're going to create a nicer effect with the plant texture. Of course, the rocks here might not be compatible with this area. It has its own rocks in its library. You can use those too. This could be a rock shape in a lighter white tone, friends. Grass decorates. This could enhance the ambiance in terms of decoration. We'll use grass in between. Look, if you want, you can create a planting section here. Again, going to the plant library, and here, for example, when you drop one of the grasses from the paint section here, it will create a layout in between, friends. When you drop any grass here, look, it multiplies in between. This way you can increase the variety here. You can also ensure that these areas multiply using the painting method. Look, like this. If you want more grass and plants, you can increase them from here. Just remember, the more plants you use, the higher the polygon count here. And if you don't have sufficient hardware in terms of the graphics card, the legs will start, friends. So you really need to pay close attention to this part. You can add these. The plants you've added interact with the other plants. So there's an increase and decrease in those numbers, friends. So pay attention to this as well. Important part. If you want to do a heavy replanting again, like this time you go to the populate section, you need to create a new populate from the populate section. Friends, you need to create a different section by throwing them like this with this different brush feature. Look, by painting in between like this, we will at least cover the rocks a bit more. Look, you continue painting them like this. At least in between there is such a thing. We're creating our beauty, friends. Look, I came like this. I came like this, friends. I won't go too deep into the very bottom. I don't want to cover the camera angles too much here. For example, look, when I take a render from this camera angle, when I take a render like this, it will look like this. I don't want to cover that part too much. I won't cover this part either. So if I do it like this in this part, it will be enough. Now I want to show you one more feature. It's very important, friends. Normally you might not like this texture. How can you change it? Look, when I select the texture, I go to the paint section. I change the grass part here, friends. It's completely changing. There. Where is the coating part? I came from here to the coating part. From the ground part over here. When I get to this part, friends, look, I can change these sections here. Look, I said grass 4 and I left it here. Suddenly the grass has changed, as you can see. With this paint feature, I can make this graver a little more. Let's extend it towards here, friends. Let me make it a little smaller and put it like this. Over here, let it spread out like this. Let there be a process like this. It seems like there's been some deformation here. If you want, you can also look at the dark grass here. Look, there are grasses here. You can change it with the grasses here. Look, there are very different grass textures. Or when you change it with this, you can achieve a transition here with a bit more of a forest texture. It's in same tone, look. Since the tones matched each other, we were faced with a more beautiful image. If you want, you can increase this even more with the single row scale section. It will look even better, friends. Yes, guys, I had done something like this in the visuals to enhance the ambience. Look, I had created a pathway here, guys. There are some really nice assets in the Megascan library for this pathway. We can create beautiful visuals using those assets. Look, when you bury these rocks into the ground, guys, it will create a stair-like ambience. We can create beautiful visuals using them. Look, they are here too. For example, look at this one here. There is an elevation here. Look, I had already done this elevation like this. To make it easier to exit from this part, guys, you can do something like this. Look, you came like this. You duplicated these randomly with instance command. You came like this. You surrounded them with rotate like this, like this, like this. It's beneficial to create a natural distribution here.
Guys, as you can see it like this, it will look beautiful from a distance. If you adjust the tones of these, if the light tone looks too light and there is no naturalness, you can choose it from here. From this part, you adjust the staining part of this. By adjusting the lighting part from the 6 sections, you can bring these a bit closer to the same tone as the earth tones. Guys, again, you continue by duplicating these from here. Look, this is a process like this. I'm showing you how it's done here. In my latest work, you will see the ambient elements of that project and what kind of lighting system I used. Here, I'm already talking about how you should approach the process and what you need to focus on. Guys, look, you can create really beautiful examples with a process like this. There are really amazing models in the Megascan library, guys. These models are our works.
Yes, guys, so what have we done now? Let's take a look at our work. I added some objects, friends. I added some tree, stone, and rock models. Let's take a look at them. What have we done? Where are we in our work? After we take a look at that, let's continue again. Let's see, I'm currently at the back. Now, friends, look, here I added some stones and bushes in the front part right here. Here, this is the painting method, friends. I changed the ground to rocky. You can also change these sections. There are some parts left here. Look, while painting, some of the stones remained on the trees. You can erase them again. Now we can also enhance the ambiance here by using single trees in these areas. So you can go to your own library again and select a tree from the tree section, friends. For example, a tree like this can be used here. For example, I left it here. Look, with a tree like this, here is such a thing. When I take a photo frame, I can create such an ambiance, I can change its elevation, I can make it smaller, but it is enough to keep it at a certain level. Keeping it like this will provide me with a nice ambience, but there's one thing, friends. So here, you can place a bench, an old bench here. You can complete the coverings here. You can do all of it within Twinmotion. When you go to the library section, friends, look here. When I say concrete, this part will show up. Many coverings will come here. I can drag and drop these coverings here. You can use the texture method in the sections you want. You can use any covering you want, friends. It's up to you a bit. That's why I won't show these parts. But if there are any empty areas in these texture sections, or if you want to change the tree texture here, you can easily change it. There is no need to show much because which one? If you want to find it, just type it in the search bar. For example, if I want a roof covering, I just type roof here. I'm saying enter, friends. Look, my covering has come out here, as you can see. If you want to make some adjustments regarding this covering, from this part, look, I can adjust the light intensity that falls on the dirt from here. In this way, I can achieve very excellent results, friends. Look, I have a different type of texture here. By changing these here, miscellaneous, I can mix the textures here. This is a bit up to you, friends. Look at the ways to use this. As you can see, there are a lot of textures here, so there's no need to spend too much time on these. You need to do it yourself here. You can place single trees here, as I said. So, to enhance the ambience here, what could we have, for example, a tree like this? This isn't of good quality. When choosing trees, make sure they are of good quality. For example, a tree like this could work here. In the next part, friends, I will talk a bit about the render section from the ambience menu here, because the render section is important. After that, we will move on to the render I have obtained, friends. We will examine the settings in the render, because they are important. What you will do here is simply filling the scene by arranging the placements. So, the more interaction you create in the scene, the better the render you'll get. So in this section, I showed such fine details, friends. We saw adding trees outside. We have seen the landscape feature around, and you can add many various objects and items here. Adding objects is somewhat related to you. I mean, a bench around, an old ladder, a wooden wheelbarrow, a jug. So you can add various suggestions such as a broken jug, like a water jug, a landscape feature, a chip feature to the garden. So there are many details that you wouldn't even think of. With these details, you'll get excellent results. In the second part, I want to talk a bit about the ambiances and the render section. There are some tips, there are important parts. Friends, I talk about them. Let's meet again in the next section. Yes, friends. So, why is the ambiance feature important? Look at the ambiance section. Now, when I come here again, let me select the building from here, guys. Let's do it like this. Now, I've come to the front part of the building in the ambiance feature. Now, I'm going to take a render from the front part here, but the stones on those leaves are bothering me a bit. Let's wipe them off, guys. Look like this. They are on the trees that have leaves. Let's wipe them off like this. Yes. Now, after I've done this, I want to take a sunny render here. Do I want to use HDR? Is it rainy? I want to use the system, guys. Of course, I will show you my main work, but this is just a preliminary impression. I want to show you how to do this. Now, normally when you want to take a render from a certain angle, you go into the ambience menu like this. In the ambience menu, there are dynamic tick and HDR. The dynamic tick feature is the part where we take renders according to the time of day. By changing these parts here, look, I can change the times of the day. Especially if you cast shadows onto the house or the road, you create a different type of ambience. Here, the north and south, you can also make the sun come from different places with its structure. There's a really great tip here. I'm going to talk about that. It's an important tip from the menu. Below here, guys, try to reduce the intensity of the sun, because the stronger and more intense the sun is, the less detail there is. So, the texture and material details really fade away. Guys, so you need to play around with the sun part, the intensity of the sun. Here, guys, when we come to the lower part here, when you switch from the cloud section to the volumetric part, you can activate various clouds from the custom tab for your work. The formation of clouds actually makes the sun softer. This causes it to fall onto the ground and makes our ambiance stronger, guys. So that's one of the important parts. For example, let's say I selected something like this in the cloud section. When I come down to the rainy weather section and turn on the rain, friends, I will get this kind of rain effect. When I get to the detailed part, you can also drop the raindrops here if you want. You can adjust the raindrops here, meaning the shine on the ground, the effect, or what we call puddles. You can increase the puddles of water. Look, for example, let's take a look from here. As you can see, you can create a nicer effect with such an impact. I want you to look at the ground here, guys. Look, there's a puddle here. Of course, for there to be a puddle, there needs to be a slope on the ground. So, if you do some parts with a slope, you'll get such beautiful results in the terrain section, guys. Look, we have a nice effect here. There's an effect of mud and wetness, guys. From here, I can create a nice effect. When I come down to the fog section, I can increase the density of the fog to enhance the effect in the background and foreground like this, as you can see, guys. It's enough to increase and change the color here in terms of density and color. Look, when I change it like this, I might have created a slightly more gloomy atmosphere. The ambient summaries are like this. In the HDR section, when I move to the HDR part here, friends, it becomes completely variable, completely dynamic. The HDR section is actually when I rendered, I definitely used a more effective method, friends. In the HDR section, when you use HDR from the outdoor or sky part, in the left HDR menu, you create a nice effect. For example, I have at the outdoor section, let's say there's any HDR here. For example, this kind of HDR or that kind. I took this and dragged it here, friends. This HDR comes to the background and I can change this with the rendering section here. So I can render with pad trace. For example, look, when I press with pad trace, friends, look at the render. I get a different type of render that has a nicer tone and is more varied. Right now it's rendering in the medium tab. Look, when I last rendered, this is the kind of image that came out, friends. In the renders I've taken, it's enough to increase the intensity value here by using similar HDRs. If you want to increase the light intensity here, it's enough to increase the intensity value, friends. Besides that, look, when the box here finishes, the rendering process is also complete. This is how it is with path trace, friends. We're using the Aster section like this. In the other part, in the other section, friends, there are some detailed variants based on the work I've done. I want to show them. They are important. Yes, friends, we've almost reached the final part. Now here you can actually see the visual I've created. You can see the visual I've created from the renders I've taken. Actually, let's go back to the visual. Look, normally, I've used a lot of different types of networks here, friends. Using these types of networks has actually increased the effect here, friends. I have a lot of polygons. In the stat you see here, there are normally 70 million polygons and 21 effects. I'm working with FPS. My ability to move is really very limited and slow, friends. Look, even while turning, there's already a weight forming. But it's like this because I've used a lot of objects. Of course, you don't have to use this many objects, friends. This is the real-time screen right now. So I'm not a Petrace or Lumen screen, friends. Look, when I come to the media section here, these horizontal triangles, friends, Lumen section. In the other sections in these parts is the Petrace section. Let's take a look at the Newman section if you want. Look, when I switch to the lower part of this image, you can see that the effect suddenly changed. So, the calculation effect has come here. As you can see, the effect has changed. Here, look, I can navigate like this. It's both raining, and the FPS has dropped to about 915 FPS, friends. My ability to move has really been quite restricted. But when I leave it, like this, there's really a nice effect. Because the effects and other liveliness elements, it works very lively. Very lively. You can see it very lively right now. And when it comes to this part, there is snowy weather here, my friends. Normally, in our first work, you see I made a path like this, if you remember. We made a path from here together from here. And I made an extra path from here. As you can see, a very nice image was created in terms of its different formation. So when you make these different things, you can get renders like this from various places. You can also get animations. It looks very nice. Friends, so create important effects. Look, I use different types of trees here. For example, like here, for example, a tree type like this caused the dynamic atmosphere of this place to reflect in a very different way. So it is important effects. The weather here is snowy weather. Here you can see the spring and summer breeze, friends. You can get renders in various ways by capturing images from all of these. You can get the render quality. I won't go into the pad trace section because both the section and the render time are really high, friends. So, for example, there's a pad trace like this in the pad trace sections. Look, it's rendering right now, but it's really very high. Let's take a render at the lowest render setting. Let's see how it looks. Look, it's about to finish, and it's done like this, friends. Or let it take a render from here. Look, I'm saying low render, again, right away. It took a low render and finished it like this. As you can see, friends, actually there isn't much in the settings. The basic features you'll be working on here are necessary to enhance the ambiance and strengthen the scene. When you do these, you really get beautiful results. In the camera section, friends, there isn't really much to it. Look, our 6500K balance setting is here. I increased the light of the shadows a bit from the local exposure here, because there needs to be a lot of light in the shadow effect in the area where the trees are located. It needs to be a bit more, so I lowered the shadow to let a bit more light come in, friends. If you're moving away from something, you need to select the depth of field section. Other than that, there isn't much of an effect. The sharpness effect is at 35%. This is the picture. It's an effect that increases the sharpness, friends. Other than that, the camera being vertical and the other parts are completely the same. Look FX section. In the color, grading section here, friends, I've used the HIP 7 effect. Contrast is at 51. Saturation is at 48. Saturation is actually too high, making the colors look a bit more cartoony. When I drop it a little, saturation and air toning are now here, friends. How it happened? I want to show you again the renders we've obtained, friends. In the renders we've obtained from the interior section here, it's like this. Finally, friends, as you can see, we indeed continued our work by taking renders like this. I think it's a nice project, friends. We got nice effects and nice results with nice animations, as you can see. We completed our work. Friends, in this section of this YouTube study, I tried to prepare a nice video content for you by putting in a lot of effort. You can also support us with your comments and by subscribing to the channel. See you again. I am Ufuk Sen. See you again. With love, counting down. Goodbye, friends.